The city woke up every morning with noise and dust, but for Aisha, life had always felt quiet and heavy. She lived in a narrow rented room at the edge of town, where the walls were thin and dreams were thinner. Every night, she lay awake, staring at the cracked ceiling, wondering if this was all her life would ever be. That was where Imran came in. Imran had nothing except a clean heart and tired hands. He worked long hours at a small repair shop, fixing things others had already given up on. His clothes were simple, his shoes worn, but his smile was warm enough to make Aisha forget the world outside. They met when life had already taught them how to survive, not how to live. Their love grew in small moments, shared tea at roadside stalls, long walks under broken streetlights, and quiet talks about a future neither of them could afford. They didn't have money for gifts, so Imran gave her promises instead. Promises that he would work harder, that things would get better, that love was enough. And Aisha wanted to believe him. Imran was gentle, in ways the world was not. He listened when she spoke, held her hand when fear crept in, and dreamed out loud about a small home, children, and peace. His honesty was his pride. He never pretended to be rich or powerful. He only promised loyalty and effort. But love did not silence hunger. Some nights, when Imran slept beside her, Aisha's thoughts wandered far away. She thought of smooth floors, soft beds, and clothes that didn't fade with every wash. She imagined respect in people's eyes instead of pity. While Imran dreamed of survival, she dreamed of escape. She loved him, truly, but fear lived inside her love. Fear of raising children in poverty. Fear of being looked down on forever. Fear of waking up old and tired with nothing to show for it. When Imran spoke of someday, Aisha heard not now. And slowly, without meaning to, her heart began to divide. One part held his kindness tightly. The other part reached for something brighter, easier, and far away. She never told him this. Instead, she smiled when he talked about the future. She nodded when he said love was enough. But inside, a quiet dissatisfaction grew. She noticed rich people more. She noticed how money changed the way others were treated. She noticed how poverty closed doors before you could even knock. Imran remained unaware. He held on to her like she was his entire world, believing that patience and honesty would be rewarded. He believed love could win against time and hardship. Aisha stood between two paths, one built on love and struggle, the other on comfort and security. At this point, she had not chosen yet. But the seeds of ambition were already planted, and once planted, they only grow. As the night deepened and the city lights flickered outside their window, love rested beside her. But somewhere beyond the darkness, temptation was already waiting. The news came quietly, but it shook Aisha's world like a storm. At first, she ignored the signs. She told herself it was stress, hunger, or long working hours. But deep inside, she already knew. When the truth finally became clear, she sat alone in the small room, her hands trembling, her heart beating too fast. A new life was growing inside her, and nothing would ever be the same again. When she told Imran, his reaction was nothing like her fear. His eyes widened, then softened. For a moment, he said nothing. Then a slow smile spread across his tired face, the kind that came from deep hope. He held her hands tightly, as if afraid the moment might slip away. To him, this was not a problem. It was a blessing. Imran began to talk about the future with new energy. He spoke of working extra hours, saving every coin, and building something stable for their child. His voice was full of determination. Poverty had not broken him before, and he believed it would not break him now. He promised to take responsibility. But while hope filled his heart, fear filled hers. Aisha felt trapped. Every word about sacrifice sounded like a lifetime of struggle. Every dream Imran described felt heavy on her chest. She did not see a miracle. She saw a chain tying her forever to poverty. At night, while Imran slept peacefully, Aisha lay awake, staring into the dark. Her thoughts raced. How would they afford food, rent, medicine? How would a child grow up in this life? She imagined herself years later, tired, forgotten, and still poor. The fear was loud, and it did not let her rest. The world outside made it worse. When whispers reached her family and neighbors, the reactions were cruel. Some laughed quietly. Others shook their heads in pity. Friends warned her that her life was ruined. They reminded her that poor men make big promises, but deliver nothing. They spoke of missed chances and wasted youth. Their words cut deep. Each comment pushed her further away from Imran and closer to doubt. Society did not see love or effort, it only saw money. And Aisha began to see herself through their eyes. Imran remained steady. He noticed her silence, her distant looks, but he believed time would heal everything. He trusted love. He trusted her. But inside Aisha, two forces were fighting. One was love, gentle, loyal, and familiar. The other was ambition, sharp, tempting, and full of escape. The baby stood between these two worlds. She placed her hand on her stomach one evening, feeling both fear and guilt at once. This child was innocent, but the future it promised terrified her. In that moment, Aisha realized something painful. Love alone was no longer enough for her. As Imran spoke softly about tomorrow, Aisha nodded with a forced smile. But her heart had already stepped onto dangerous ground. The pregnancy had changed everything, and the distance between love and ambition had never felt wider. The world Aisha lived in was small and tight, but one afternoon, it suddenly opened into something dazzling. She met Rashid by chance, at a place where people like her rarely belonged. The air smelled clean, the floors shined, and everything around him spoke of ease. Rashid moved through the space with quiet confidence, as if the world had already made room for him. His clothes were perfect, his watch expensive, and his voice calm and controlled. He represented a life Aisha had only seen from a distance. Standing near him, she became painfully aware of her worn shoes and simple dress. Yet Rashid noticed her, not in a loud or desperate way, but with calm interest. He spoke gently, asked simple questions, and listened as if her words mattered. For the first time in a long while, Aisha felt seen without being judged. When she returned home that evening, the contrast hit her hard. Imran was tired, his hands stained with grease, his face marked by another long day of struggle. He smiled at her the same way he always did, warm, honest, hopeful. He spoke about work, about saving a little more, about tomorrow. But tomorrow with Imran always looked the same. Rashid's world was different. It did not wait for tomorrow. Comfort existed there already.
No counting coins.
No worrying about rent. No fear of hunger. Just smooth roads and open doors. Slowly, Rashid began to appear more often in her life. His presence felt effortless. He never rushed her. He never spoke badly about Imran. Instead, he spoke about life, about choices, freedom, and knowing one's worth. His words were soft, but they stayed in her mind long after he left. Without saying it directly, he showed her what power looked like. Aisha started noticing things she had ignored before. How people treated Rashid with respect. How doors opened for him without questions. How his time was valued. She imagined herself beside him, respected, protected, admired. The idea felt dangerous and exciting. At home, Imran's struggles felt heavier than ever. His love was pure, but it came with sacrifice. Rashid offered comfort without effort. One life demanded patience. The other promised instant relief. Aisha stood between these two worlds, her heart pulling in opposite directions. She told herself she was only curious, that it was harmless to look, that she deserved better after years of struggle. But deep inside, something had already shifted. The seed of betrayal was planted quietly, without noise or guilt, just a soft whisper asking her why she should suffer when she didn't have to. Every smile from Rashid made her feel powerful. Every tired look from Imran filled her with doubt. She had not betrayed anyone yet. But for the first time, she imagined a future without Imran, and that thought no longer scared her. As wealth brushed against her life, Temptation tightened its grip, and Aisha, standing at the edge of choice, began to lean toward a world that glittered brighter than love. The decision did not come in one moment. It came slowly, painfully, night after night. Aisha sat alone more often now. The room felt smaller, the walls closer. Every sound seemed louder when she was by herself. She placed her hand on her stomach again and again, hoping to feel clarity. Instead, she felt confusion, fear, and a heavy silence. Part of her heart whispered about the child, about innocence, about a life that trusted her without question. When she imagined the baby, her chest tightened. Tears came without warning. This was not an enemy growing inside her. It was life. But another voice was louder. That voice spoke of escape, of comfort, of a future without hunger or shame. It reminded her of Rashid's calm smile, his easy life, and the respect he carried wherever he went. It warned her that once this child was born, every door to that world would close forever. Aisha felt pulled apart. She thought of Imran, his hope, his trust, his belief that love could carry them through anything. The thought of breaking him made her hands shake. But the thought of staying poor forever filled her with dread. She felt cruel for thinking this way, yet she could not stop. The choice began to feel like survival. When the day finally came, she walked through it like someone else. Her steps were slow. Her face was calm, but inside, everything screamed. She told herself this was necessary. That pain now would save her from a lifetime of suffering. She did not allow herself to cry. What happened next was quiet, private, and heavy.
No dramatic scenes. No loud moments.
Just a deep emptiness settling inside her where hope once lived. When it was over, Aisha sat alone, staring at nothing, feeling both relief and loss crash together. Something inside her broke, and it would never fully heal. She did not tell Imran the truth. When she returned home, she said little. She avoided his eyes. When he asked questions, she gave weak answers. She blamed stress. She blamed sickness. She blamed fate. Each lie tasted bitter, but she swallowed it anyway. Imran noticed the change. He felt the distance. He tried to comfort her, to hold her, to remind her they were together. She let him, but her touch felt empty now. The secret stood between them like a wall neither could see, but both could feel. At night, when Imran slept, Aisha cried silently. Not loud sobs, just quiet tears soaking into the pillow. She mourned what she had lost and feared what she had become. The guilt did not leave. It stayed, heavy and patient. She told herself she had chosen a better future, but her heart knew the truth. This was the moment everything changed. The woman who once believed love could be enough was gone. In her place stood someone who had crossed a line that could never be erased. The choice had been made. The past had been sacrificed. And from this point on, no amount of wealth would ever feel clean. As morning light entered the room, Aisha wiped her tears and prepared to face the world again. But deep inside, she knew this secret would follow her forever, shaping every joy, every loss, and every step she took from this day forward. Aisha left without a storm.
No shouting. No truce.
Just silence wrapped in careful words. She packed her few clothes slowly, folding each piece, as if time might stop her. When Imran asked where she was going, she avoided his eyes. She spoke about needing space, about pressure, about things not working anymore. Her voice sounded steady, but her hands shook. She did not tell him everything. She could not. Imran stood there, confused, trying to understand a breakup that had no clear reason. He searched her face for answers, for signs that this was a mistake. He reminded her of their plans, their promises, their shared struggle. He believed love could fix what words could not explain. But Aisha had already closed her heart. When she walked out, Imran felt something tear inside him. The room felt empty, colder than before. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the door long after it closed. His mind replayed every moment, looking for the mistake he must have made. He blamed himself for being poor, for not being enough. The pain crushed him quietly. Days passed, then weeks. Imran stopped talking much. He worked, came home, and slept. The dreams he once shared with hope now felt like lies. He had lost love, a future, and a truth he would never fully know. Poverty had taken many things from him, but this time, it had taken love. Meanwhile, Aisha stepped into another world. Wide rooms, soft beds, clean silence. Everything shined. Rashid's life welcomed her with ease, as if struggle had never existed. People spoke to her politely. Doors opened. Respect followed her name. This was the life she once dreamed of. But guilt walked beside her. At night, surrounded by comfort, Aisha felt restless. The quiet was different here, too calm, too empty. She remembered Imran's tired smile, his honest eyes, the way he trusted her without doubt. That trust now weighed heavily on her chest. She told herself she had chosen survival. She told herself love was not enough. Yet, every luxury reminded her of what she had destroyed to get here. Imran suffered openly, while Aisha suffered silently. He lost everything at once. She gained everything, but lost her peace. The betrayal did not end with leaving. It continued in every lie she lived, every smile she forced, every moment she pretended she was free. Poverty had lost its grip on her life. But love had been left behind, broken and bleeding. As Aisha looked out from her new window at a city that finally respected her, she realized something painful. Wealth could change where she lived, but it could not erase where she came from. And somewhere, in a small room filled with memories, a poor man sat alone, holding on to a love that no longer existed, while the woman he trusted walked forward, carrying a guilt she could never truly escape. The separation was complete, but the consequences were only beginning. Aisha became a rich man's wife without struggle, without waiting. The wedding was grand, filled with bright lights, expensive clothes, and polite smiles. People who once ignored her now stood in line to congratulate her. Her name was spoken with respect. Her past was carefully hidden behind silk curtains and golden doors. From the outside, she had won. Her new home was large and quiet. The floors were smooth, the air always cool. Servants moved softly, meeting her needs before she spoke. Her wardrobe filled with dresses she once admired from far away. Every comfort she had ever wanted was now within reach. Yet something was missing. Rashid provided everything except warmth. His love was calm, controlled, and distant. He respected her, protected her image, and gave her security, but he did not see her heart. Their conversations were polite, never deep. There was no laughter born from struggle, no shared memories of pain and hope. At night, Aisha lay awake beside him, staring at the ceiling, much higher and cleaner than the one she once knew. The silence here felt heavy. In that silence, her past came alive. She began to dream. In her dreams, she walked through narrow streets again. She saw Imran's tired smile. She heard his hopeful voice. Sometimes, she felt the weight of what she had lost pressing on her chest, making it hard to breathe. She woke up sweating, her heart racing, guilt clinging to her like a shadow. During the day, she smiled perfectly. She attended events, wore jewelry, and accepted praise. People admired her life. They envied her success. No one saw the emptiness behind her eyes. The more she gained, the more she felt hollow. She missed the simple moments, the shared tea, the honest talks, the feeling of being truly known. Wealth had replaced struggle, but it had also erased sincerity. Everything around her felt staged, carefully managed, and cold. Guilt followed her everywhere. It appeared in quiet moments, in mirrors, in pauses between conversations. No amount of luxury could silence it. She tried to bury it under comfort, under routine, under denial, but it always returned. Aisha realized something painful. Success had not healed her. It had only hidden the wound. She had climbed high, but her heart remained far below, trapped in choices she could not undo. The respect she gained felt undeserved. The life she lived felt borrowed. From the outside, she was powerful. From the inside, she was alone. As she stood by the large window one evening, watching city lights shine below, Aisha understood the truth she had avoided for so long. She had escaped poverty, but she had not escaped herself. The rich life she fought for felt empty, and the cost of getting there was beginning to show. This was not the peace she imagined. It was only the beginning of her reckoning. When Aisha left, the world did not stop for Imran, but something inside him did. Days turned into long, empty hours. The room she once filled with quiet warmth now echoed with silence. Imran woke up early, went to work, and returned late, moving through life like a shadow.
He spoke less.
He smiled rarely. His hands kept working, but his heart felt heavy and slow. Grief did not arrive loudly. It sat beside him. At night, he stared at the same cracked ceiling, replaying memories he could not escape. He questioned every moment, every promise. He wondered where he had failed. Poverty answered him again and again. It told him he was not enough. It told him love could not survive without money. Some mornings, getting out of bed felt like a battle. Imran lost weight. His eyes grew tired. Friends noticed, but he pushed them away gently. He did not want pity. He did not want advice. He carried his pain quietly, believing it was his burden alone. Yet, something inside him refused to break completely. He began to work longer hours, not to forget but to survive. His hands found comfort in fixing broken things. Each repaired object felt like proof that damage did not always mean the end. Slowly, without realizing it, he started repairing himself. He learned to cook simple meals. He cleaned the room. He saved small amounts of money. These were not big victories, but they mattered. They gave him control over a life that once felt stolen from him. Pain remained, but bitterness did not take over. There were moments when anger tried to rise. When he imagined Aisha's new life and felt replaced, forgotten. But each time he stopped himself. He remembered the love they once shared. He remembered her fear. And though it hurt, he chose not to hate her. Forgiveness did not come easily. It did not come fully. But the idea of it began to grow. Imran understood that holding on to anger would only keep him trapped. Poverty had already taken too much from him. He would not let pain take his dignity too. One evening, as he watched the sun set from a small window, Imran felt something change. The sadness was still there, but it no longer controlled him. He realized that his worth was not decided by who left him or by how much money he had. He was still standing. He carried the loss with him, not as a wound, but as a lesson. Love had failed him, but it had also taught him how deeply he could feel. And that, he decided, was not weakness. As night settled, Imran lay down and closed his eyes. For the first time in a long while, his chest felt lighter. He did not know what the future held. He did not dream of reunion or revenge. He dreamed of peace. The struggle was not over. The pain had not vanished. But within his quiet strength, healing had begun. And somewhere deep inside, forgiveness was slowly finding its place, preparing him for a future built not on loss, but on resilience. The past did not knock before returning. It walked in without warning. It began with small cracks, cold looks, sudden silence, questions Rashid never asked before. Aisha felt it in the way the house changed its mood. The warmth was gone. Even the walls felt distant. Something unseen had shifted, and she knew it had to do with her secrets. One evening, Rashid stood farther away than usual. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He spoke about trust, about truth, about how lies always find their way back. Aisha's chest tightened. The words felt heavy, as if they were aimed straight at her heart. She tried to stay steady. She tried to pretend. But the truth had already reached him. Whether through whispers, records, or chance, Rashid had learned about the life she erased. He did not shout. He did not accuse loudly. Instead, his respect vanished. The kindness she mistook for love turned into cold control. She realized then that his world had rules, and forgiveness was not one of them. As the days passed, Rashid's dark side revealed itself. He became distant then demanding. What once felt like protection now felt like a cage. The comfort he offered came with conditions. The respect he gave was replaced by judgment. Aisha saw clearly for the first time. This marriage was never built on love. It was built on image. And images break easily. Their home filled with tension. Conversations ended quickly. Silence grew long and painful. Rashid withdrew emotionally, then physically. The marriage began to collapse, piece by piece, without noise or drama, just quiet rejection. Then came the loss she never expected. Wealth slipped away, not all at once, but enough to hurt. Business troubles, legal pressure, social distance. People who once praised her now avoided her. Doors that opened easily before began to close without explanation. The luxury that once defined her life suddenly felt fragile. Aisha stood alone in the same grand rooms that once made her feel power. Now they felt empty. Too big. Too quiet. Wealth no longer comforted her. It mocked her. In that emptiness, memories returned stronger than ever. She remembered Imran's honesty, his patience, his belief in her when she had nothing. She remembered the life she destroyed to escape fear, and the peace she traded for status. For the first time, she stopped running. She understood what she had truly lost. Not money, not comfort, but love, dignity, and a chance at a life built on truth. As Rashid's world pulled away from her, Aisha was left standing with nothing but regret. The woman who sacrificed everything for wealth now faced the cost of that choice. The fall was complete, and in the silence that followed, Aisha realized this was not just punishment, it was consequence. The truth had returned, and it had taken everything with it. What remained was guilt, clarity, and a painful understanding. Some losses are permanent, and some lessons come far too late. The next step would not be escape. It would be reckoning. Aisha's fall was quiet, but complete. The house that once felt grand was no longer hers. The clothes, the jewelry, the title, one by one they slipped away. People who once greeted her with smiles now passed her without notice. Invitations stopped coming. Phones stopped ringing. Respect vanished as quickly as it had appeared. She stood alone, stripped of everything she had chased. With nothing left to distract her, regret filled every corner of her life. It followed her through empty days and restless nights. There was no luxury to hide behind now, no noise to silence her thoughts. Every mistake replayed clearly in her mind. For the first time, Aisha stopped running from her past. She faced it fully. She remembered the poor room where love once lived, the man who trusted her without fear, the life she erased to save herself. The weight of it crushed her. She cried openly now, no longer quietly, no longer with control. These were tears of understanding, not fear. She realized that wealth had never been the real prize. It was courage. It was honesty. It was love she had thrown away. Guilt turned inward. She blamed herself, questioned herself, and hated the choices she made. But slowly, something else began to form beneath the pain: accountability. She accepted that no one had forced her. She had chosen. And now, she had to live with it. Redemption, she learned, does not begin with forgiveness from others. It begins with truth. Aisha tried to forgive herself. It was the hardest thing she had ever done. Some days she failed. Some days she felt unworthy of peace. But she kept trying, because holding on to shame was destroying what little was left of her. Then came the moment she feared most. She stood at a distance, watching Imran. He looked different, older, steadier, quieter. Life had marked him, but it had not broken him. Seeing him filled her with a mix of pain and relief. Pain for what she had done. Relief that he had survived without her. She did not approach him for comfort. She did not ask for love. She only allowed herself to feel the truth. Imran's presence reflected everything she had lost, not money, but meaning. In that silent confrontation, she understood that some forgiveness is not spoken. Some healing does not come with reunion. She had no right to ask for anything from him. As she turned away, Aisha felt something unexpected. Not peace, but clarity. Redemption was not about fixing the past. It was about becoming someone who would never repeat it. Her life was smaller now. Harder. But it was real. And for the first time in years, she chose to face tomorrow without lies, without escape, and without pretending. The road ahead was uncertain. Forgiveness was not guaranteed. But accountability had begun, and that was the first step toward redemption. What remained was one final lesson still waiting to unfold. Time moved forward, even when Aisha felt stuck in the past. Her life was quiet now. No grand houses.
No applause.
Just simple days and honest work. Each morning, she woke up with the weight of her choices still resting on her heart, but also with a new understanding. For the first time, she was not chasing anything. She was learning to live with truth. Slowly, clarity replaced regret. She finally understood what money had promised but never delivered. Wealth could buy comfort, but not peace. It could attract people, but not loyalty. It could silence hunger, but never heal a broken conscience. The things she once believed mattered most now felt small and fragile.
Love.
Integrity. Family. These were the riches she had thrown away. Across the city, Imran's life had taken a different shape. It was still simple, still humble, but it was steady. He had found purpose in his work and meaning in helping others. Pain had shaped him, but it had not hardened him. His days were filled with effort, and his nights with calm. He had made peace with the past. When their paths crossed one final time, it was not dramatic.
No tears. No anger.
Just two people standing on opposite sides of a shared history. Aisha saw strength in him, quiet, earned, and real. Imran saw remorse in her, deep, honest, and heavy. And in that moment, forgiveness existed. Not as a return, not as a second chance, but as closure. Imran carried no bitterness. He had let go of the pain that once defined him. Aisha carried no hope of being forgiven fully, but she accepted what was given. That was enough. Forgiveness, she learned, is not about erasing the past. It is about freeing the future. They walked away in different directions, both lighter than before. Aisha's life would never be easy again, but it would be honest. She would build slowly, carefully, guided by lessons written in loss. Every choice she made from this point forward would carry meaning because she now knew the cost of choosing wrong. The story did not end with wealth regained or love restored. It ended with truth. Because in the end, what truly matters is not how high you rise, but how deeply you understand the fall. Not how much you gain, but what you are willing to protect. Love lost may never return, but wisdom can still remain. And the greatest wealth of all is learning, before it is too late, what is worth holding on to, and what is worth letting go.